So there's stuff that lasts the week and stuff that shapes the season, and then there's the stuff that might shape the journey of the game. So that is the Mackay bump, which is interesting on all number of levels.
Yep.
I'm dedicated to process. The process is interesting, but let's start with the incident itself. Too much of this, I think, has been framed around the single shot where they're both there. It's all about what happens from this moment on for me. Where do you sit on this?
I think he should be suspended. At the very least, I think we should be having this conversation about this. I argued really strongly with another case when everyone was saying the O'Meara plan, no, just a no, it's not a contest. What we've got to do, and we've got to change the way the game is played, because guess what, people? People are killing themselves. And guess what? People who don't play AFL and people who only played country and suburban football, guess what? They've also got mental health problems. You know why? Because they got concussions as well. So what we've got to do, we love this game, but we've got to save the participants in this game. Now, what will happen, Jared? Former players, and this is not a personal attack, former players, senior AFL players, I feel that they feel affronted when guys like me or you or others below their playing standard say, no, we can't have that. Because former players, quite rightly, played at a higher, braver level. Like, what separates players from who didn't play AFL level is not just skill, but it's this bravery. I'll do anything for the team. And that is a really huge tick. But what we have to do is we've got to ask them guys to not push back, but lead the way and understand that too many people are getting hurt by this game, Jared. And it's not happening in the now, it's going to happen in the future. And we've got to stop saying, no, he's going for the ball. That was ballistic. Ballistic. And the AFL has told us today we no longer want that ballistic behaviour in the game.
Yeah, so there's a lot in that. One is the progressive evolution of the physicality from generation to generation, and it does change. It has changed. The physicality of the 60s was different to the physicality of the 70s and the 80s, and thus where we are now. And every sporting organisation around the world is evolving the physicality within its game to match the spectre of concussion as they work out how to deal with it while retaining the intricacies of a combat sport, but how do you lessen the danger in it? So I think that's the overall. And your point, which I absolutely agree with, is 10 years ago, no one's looking twice at this.
Nope.
Thursday night, we'll wait and see. But in 10 years' time, this will be out of the game.
Absolutely.
It will be just an automatic suspension and no one will even debate it. And we'll think back to a time, remember when that moment was a flashpoint? In 10 years' time, it won't be allowed.
It was like when Byron Pickett ran over Crummell. Everyone went, oh, God, how tough's footy? Oh, how tough. If that happened then today, there's not a single person in Australia that's acceptable. So times have to change, and we're not sitting here and people who are saying he's got to go, David Mackay, are not saying he's an animal or anything like that. This is for the good of the game, and we can't have players. I put it like this. Hunter Clark was going for the ball. David Mackay was going for the ball and the man. He's got two things to deal with. Hunter Clark's going for the ball. And what the AFL is now going to say, and I agree with Jared, go for the ball. But the duty of care is now at an all-time high from what we've seen before. He went in knowing I'm going to get the ball, and also knowing, because I'm contesting the ball, I can hit him as hard as I like. And what the AFL is now going to say, or they're trying to say, is no, you can't. Because we are not going to have blokes walking off the ground with his jaw broken in two places, I've been told. I only know this, I don't know the... Jaw's broken, and you might not play again this year. Is that what we want for God, it's a tough sport.
Yeah.
Do we want that still?
So the velocity with which he instigates the contact and the collision happens because of what Mackay chooses on his way to the contest. There is an alternative. The alternative is not to accelerate in such a manner and still reach the contest, at which point you might be the tackler or you might not be. They're the semantics, and if you take the single frame where both players are reaching for the ball, that's not it. It's the choice that was made in the lead-up. And what will happen over time is there'll be the conditioning. You can't approach the contest in that manner.
You cannot.
For what the consequences of it might be. The process is interesting, so clearly the match...
Can I just say one note before you go on? I really like the fact that you've brought the incident back, okay, from where the hands are. If David Mackay was running in and he slowed up and laid the tackle, would any commentator said he should have hit him with everything he's got? Who would say that? No one. No one. They'll say, God, how good was that? He waited and pounced and got the free kick and they kicked the goal. But no one says, no, he should have played into him at a million miles an hour. I think we're just being... We've been brave after the event, and I just wish the players should come along and push it.
Yeah, I think
that's all.
I think players make the alternate choice to what Mackay did all the time, far more often than they make the Mackay choice. It's just we don't talk about it because it's just natural in the way the game's played.
Anyway,
the process is interesting. So the match review officer didn't believe it was a classifiable offence.
Which is Michael Christian.
And then Steve Hocking, as the general manager of football, isn't prepared to walk past it. So he doesn't ask Michael Christian to go back through it. He uses his power of appeal within the construct of the system, and he takes it to the tribunal. The tribunal's place is interesting in this.
Hang on, why did they put out the charge, not yesterday but today?
Yeah, so it's not a charge. This is how the AFL will instruct its advocate to prosecute the case. Right. So it's now on Thursday night, it's a competition of ideas.
Right.
And there had to be some clarity around that because otherwise there's this void of, well, what's happening?
Okay, well, he said, I'm not turning up. I'm not turning up.
So that's interesting. The place of the tribunal is fascinating. It's not the tribunal's place to make the laws of the game. It's the tribunal's place to test the incidents that breach the rules of the game. So I do think they're being asked to do a job here that's not really in their remit.
No, it's not.
And it has the potential to provide a significant precedent. And
do you think Hocking's playing the long hand here?
Yeah, so I think Steve Hocking knows where the game will evolve to. My personal view, I don't think he'll be overly fussed which way it goes on Thursday night, but he wants it up, he wants it discussed, he wants it tested, he wants it heard, and then he'll have a look at it in the aftermath. But
he wants everyone to debate it as well.
Yeah.
And so people can actually decide, well, actually, not everyone's 100% with that's a fair hit. That's what we want. What about, I don't like the idea that the AFL is testing this right now. Like, as Gerard Healy said in the previous show, which was ahead of our show, Gerard, as Gerard Healy said, and I think it was a really smart thing to say, it's not a rule, sort of, yet. They've thrown it under the AFL's very good at throwing it under the umbrella rule. Mackay doesn't know that he's broken a law.
Yes.
And that, to me, is a little unfair on Mackay, but I've got another feeling in life. Unfortunately, Dave Mackay, you're the guinea pig, and we're going to punish you, and we're going to teach the next 10 million people who play our game, or try to teach 10 million people who are going to play our game.
Yep. I don't know how it lands on Thursday nights, and it's right in the margins, but it is a moment in the evolution of the game. We'll talk to the coaches about it. I imagine most people in football currently sit with David Mackay, and then we'll get the discussion going around it.